Hey friends, today we are talking about how to spot a lying salesperson. Today, I have been asked a lot by customers and including salespeople how to spot lying customers, believe it or not, and how to spot lying salespeople. So, we're going to cover this topic and I'm going to give you some real life examples of instances in my life where I've come across people that flat out lied and tried to work me over for thousands of dollars more than I should have been paying. So let's get into it. All right. So, what is a lying salesperson? Well, remember, anyone who is trading a good, it could be a retailer selling products, it could be a service like an installer of sorts, or it could be something online that you're looking to buy. It could be a form of marketing. Let's say you see an ad that says, 60% off, and it seems too good to be true, but the price point that you're used to seeing is a little bit lower maybe, or a little bit higher, let's say, than what you're seeing being advertised. So there's an automatic perceived value there, and it feels like that's a deal. But is it really a deal at 60% off, right? It's all relative. If you don't know what you're shopping, if you haven't done your due diligence ahead of time and researched that topic, then it may not actually be a deal at all, right? I don't know if any of you ever bought anything off of Facebook, but there's been instances where I saw something that looked amazing and I bought it off Facebook, and lo and behold, it was garbage when it came in. It didn't fit right, European fit, or the quality wasn't great, but the images they were using were amazing. It was kind of a visual way of lying, if you will. Certainly didn't look like what I received. In one instance, I actually called the 1-800 number for the 30-day refund, and it was out of service. And when I emailed the customer service line, I never received a response. So again, an indirect way of sort of lying or deceiving customers, right? So those are some of the ways that you can be fooled. Now let's talk about your engagement with salespeople. If you're a consumer and you're going in to buy something, what are some of the things you can do to call out a person that might be lying to you? Well, it starts with educating yourself before you go in on whatever topic or whatever particular product you're looking to buy. I'll give you a couple of high levels. I made a couple of notes. For example, if you are educated on the type of products that you're looking to buy and this particular retailer has it, well, then you might want to surprise that salesperson with some very specific questions, not questions where someone can ramble, but yes or no questions, right? Like, for example, is this product solid wood? Understand that solid wood isn't necessarily the best way to go, but if that's what you want, then you want to make sure that that person knows whether it's solid wood or not. Right? How do you compare to XYZ retailer, for example? Is the answer, well, here's what we offer that we feel is a value proposition and can serve you well? Or is it, oh, we're the best because we do this? You want to look out for things like that. In my opinion, nobody is the best at anything because we are always evolving. And it's very hard for any one retailer to constantly evolve at the speed of consumers' needs. So for someone to say that they are the best at anything is, in my opinion, a lie. There's nobody really that's the best at anything because we're always learning. And really, the person who decides if they're the best is you. And that's usually not just during the purchase, but the service after the sale that can dictate that, right? So pay attention to the way that they answer questions, the way that they specifically say no to something. Are they leading you over to another manager? Are they diverting? I'll give you an example. One time I went to purchase a vehicle, and one of the first things out of my mouth was, don't show me the Foursquare. Any of you who bought a car probably know what that is. And lo and behold, the salesperson eventually brings a manager in who brings the Foursquare. And I specifically said, don't bring that out. To take it a step further, once they brought it out, we started going through the motions. In one of those squares, he wrote a number down and said, if I can do this, will you do that? And I said, you can't do that. I called him out. Right? Just called him out because I knew he couldn't do that. I know how this works, which is why I said, don't bring out the Foursquare. And he said, well, I don't know. I'm going to see what I can do. And I said, you know what you can do. That's why you broke out the Foursquare. And that's why you wrote the number. You're going to try to get me as close to that number as you can to earn my business, but you can't do that number. And I said, as a matter of fact, if you can do that number, I'll buy it right now. And then he kind of smiled and he said, well, you know how this works, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, yeah, then why did you waste all this time with the Foursquare and playing the games if you know that I know how this works, right? So again, it's really important to call those things out and be educated ahead of time. Had I not educated myself ahead of time and had decades of experience in sales and marketing, I may not have asked him to keep that Foursquare out of it. It saved us a ton of time. I think the whole interaction or engagement took about maybe 30 minutes when it could have took an hour and a half with all that garbage that they were throwing out there. Also pay attention to the way that someone articulates their position. Articulates their position as in when they answer questions, Are they fumbling and stumbling? Do they have conviction in their voice? Are they enthusiastic, or are they stumbling and fumbling when you're asking very specific questions? I can remember instances where people told me that a product was real leather, for example, and I knew it wasn't real leather. It was a bonded product or a vinyl product. I can remember people saying, I am the best at this, or we are the best at that, and this is why we do this, saying they can't do certain things when the reality was they didn't have the authority to do certain things. But I knew that up the chain, if it boiled down to them earning my business, they would likely bend a little bit and probably conform, as in giving me a little bit of what I want, but maybe not all of what I want. But the person didn't even put forth the effort. They just said, we cannot do this, or we cannot do that, etc. So I want to give you a couple of real examples of these lying salespeople, and then I'll talk about how customers lie as well. One example is I went to shop for an SUV, and when I first was approached, the salesperson introduced himself as the number one writer in the dealership. He said that he had sold 30 cars that month, and that he was the 7-year standing highest rated salesperson on the lot. And I picked the right person, take me through a tour with this SUV, etc. Kind of a turnoff, but okay. I liked his confidence. So we got into the vehicle, and we were looking around and whatnot. And I said to him, I don't need to test drive the vehicle. Of course, he was trying to get me to test drive it. I said, I don't need that. And he proceeded to go on and on about all of these buzzwords and bells and whistles that were inside the vehicle, never asking me what was the most important thing, which is important, right? If you want to earn someone's business, you really need to understand where their value proposition is, what is most important for you to earn their business. And he did none of that. He went on and on and on. He did not know that I happened to be considered a leather expert. I was selling it for 25 years or so, and had toured tanning facilities all over the world, and had done a lot within the leather category my whole life. And he was talking about the seats, and I asked him, why are all these seams all over the seats? There was stitching all over the seats. The seat probably had 15 different pieces of leather on the bolster pillows, the backs, the seats, everything had seams. And I just asked him flat out, why are all these seams? I go, wouldn't this be a potential fail point, like on this product with everyone getting in and out and whatnot? And he said to me exactly this: the reason we have all those seams is because if you damage a piece of the leather or you stain it, you can replace that piece of leather, which was a 100% lie. The reason I know it's a 100% lie is, first of all, to take the leather seat apart and remove all the stitching and put one piece on would be cost prohibitive. It would be way too expensive to do that and make it make any sense. So that made zero sense. The second thing is, I happen to know why they used all that stitching. I was just curious what he would say, because I thought maybe he had a different reason, or maybe he was going to be professional and just share with me the real reason why. And the main reason why is because it costs less money to use multiple pieces of leather when you're producing something. So let's say you're putting a sofa together. Well, if you have less seams and you have big, flat, beautiful pillow backs and seats with no seams, it takes more cowhide to make that, right? So it's more expensive to do that, but you don't have all these ugly seams everywhere, and there's less fail points. Now, seams generally are ballistic nylon. They're very strong, but there are holes in the product, and at some point they can fail. So you don't want tons of seams, especially if you're sliding in and out of a vehicle over the top of those seams constantly. He immediately lost credibility with me. We were looking at literally a $100,000 SUV, and right there, not his overconfidence, not his number one salesperson, not his blabbering about all his numbers and all the buzzwords that I really didn't care about. By the way, the number one thing that was important to me was reliability in a vehicle. He never even asked. It was that one thing, and that was it. I was shut off. I really didn't hear much more of what he said, because I thought, well, if he's going to lie about this, what else will he lie about? May seem little to you, but again, if you are a salesperson, you don't want to be caught in that position. And if you're not educating yourself as a salesperson and sharing honestly with consumers, you might get caught and not even realize you're caught and lose that opportunity to earn their business. So that was example one. Example two was windows. So I was shopping for windows, and I had done my own research, and I called a few window people asking some questions. I happen to have vinyl windows. A lady came over. She was representing a very high-end line. And one of the questions I asked her was, I have a leak and I'm not sure where it's coming from. It's from the top. It's leaking into the blinds a little bit at a time. Can you help me understand what this might be? I said, I'm thinking like maybe it might be flashing or something. I don't know. I'm not a window expert. So she comes in, she looks inside. I said, do you want to go outside? Nope, I'm fine inside. And she looks up and says, oh yes, you have flashing. It's no problem. It's your windows failing. I thought that was odd, because the water was leaking from the trim up above, not actually the window, but then dripping down onto the blinds. But I thought, okay, whatever. Her window quote was, I want to say $3,500 a window, which I thought was extraordinary because I had installed vinyl windows. These were not vinyl. These were some sort of poly material blended with natural material and environmentally friendly, blah, blah, blah. And I bought those windows for $300-$400 and installed them for like $100. So I thought if a professional's doing it, maybe it's twice that. Maybe it's $1,000 a window. She's $3,500 a window. So I had already learned from a previous appointment that was outrageous. And so I called the third person. Third person comes out. He looks at the windows. He said, listen, man, your vinyl windows are fine. They haven't failed. There's no sealing issues. He goes, but what I can tell you, after going outside and looking up at the top, is that the person who built your house didn't put flashing on the outside. And you wouldn't be able to tell unless you got up on top of the window trim to see that there's flashing missing. Aha. So she flat out told me there was flashing up there from looking inside the window, of which she couldn't even see the flashing, and tried to overcharge me for crazy price windows. And these guys said, no, it's not even a window problem. These vinyl windows will last forever until the seals in between them fail, and at which, you can replace the pane or replace the whole window, but it certainly won't cost you $3,500. They said, we'll put flashing on 2 of these windows for you for $1,000 for both, right? Maybe $1,100, I think, is what I in total spent. This lady wanted to charge me like $8,000 for 2 windows to install them by the time it was all said and done. Ridiculous. Totally lost credibility with me. I had a feeling she should go outside, which is why I said, I can take you outside through the window or around the ladder. She just didn't want to do it. So she got caught lying and lost a huge sale. I do know somebody, though, who then went and spent a tremendous amount of money buying windows that were like that. And those windows actually cost over $10,000, and they bought those types of windows, but there was a confidence level with the quality of those windows and that salesperson. And this person didn't want to negotiate or spend a lot of time researching and shopping around. So in my opinion, they probably overpaid, but they felt okay about it. So that's fine. It's fine. If you don't mind and you can live with that, then that's okay too. But me, I like to negotiate. I like to shop around and make sure that I'm getting the best value. It's not always about price. It's about value as well, right? So be aware. Another example, garage door guys. So I've actually posted about this before, but long story short, did a bunch of homework, called around, called the shop, got a basic idea of what it would cost. And once the installer came out, he threw out this outrageous quote of $2,400. And I said, oh, wait a minute, we're just wasting our time here. Why don't you just head out and I'll call somebody else. Oh, wait a minute. Gets on the phone, comes back. Okay, I can do it for this. And lo and behold, we ended up dropping, I don't even know, I think he dropped almost $1,000 off the price. And I threw out there other quotes that I had received. But instead of him asking me and taking the time, he just threw a number out there, an outrageous number, which is crazy to me. I understand you're going to throw a little bit of padding in there, but to say that something's going to cost, it was basically about 40% more than it eventually cost, or actually what they ended up charging me, regardless of what they wanted to charge me, is atrocious, right? So you don't know unless you do your research, your homework, and unless you stick to your guns with the proper applied knowledge, right? So we'll use another example. I had an electrician come out one time. Electrician, I said, hey, I need you to come out. This was before they were charging service charges just to come out. He came out. I had him look at a fan up in my bathroom. I had 2 of them. And he says to me, oh, you're going to have a contractor. We're going to have to cut the fan out. And you're going to have them drywall and all this. And then it's probably the fan's going to cost you $500 and this and this and this. But you're going to have to line up a contractor first. And then I can do this. I mean, this whole thing was sounding like a several $1,000 job. I thought, wow, this is insane. There's no way, right? So I decided to take the fan cover off myself and see if I could pull it out so that I could see, is there any parts available? Or maybe I could call another electrician and give him the name of the fan and ask him, can you get these? So I pull it out and there's literally just a plug, 2 screws and a plug. It comes out like a wall plug. It comes out and I get online and I shop and I bought it for like $100. I went back, screwed it up. It was 5 minutes and my fan was fine. I did it with both bathrooms. It cost me $200 to replace both fans. This guy's talking thousands and thousands of dollars of construction work, like literally reframing the fan. Now, this is a well-known electrician from a well-known company. Why would he take advantage like that when he could have just gone up there and said, hey, I'll order this fan for you and I'll charge you however much to put it in? Instead, he wanted to push the brand he was selling, which would have required me to completely reframe the ceiling. It was absolutely ridiculous. So again, me wanting to do my own research and due diligence, I learned, right? And I saved a tremendous amount of money. A couple other quick things here. So there's this great book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Love this book. My wife's reading this for like the 3rd time. I've probably read it 100 times. I read a ton of books. I think I've read probably 70 books over the last maybe 18 months or so. The reason I highlight this book is because there are a lot of habits in here that can help you with buying and selling. So if you've never heard of the book, make sure you look it up. I am only endorsing this because I love the book. I don't get paid anything to endorse it, but it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. There are all kinds of tips and tricks in here about life. And believe it or not, a lot of these connect with selling and with buying products. Okay, so check out that book. There's another book I want to highlight for you, and it's called Retail Success by George Whalen. So whether you're a retailer selling stuff or you're a consumer buying, this book has a lot of great tips on how to take care of customers, how to buy products, and how to stand out in a pretty busy world. Great book, Retail Success, George Whalen. This is a little bit older, but an absolutely phenomenal book. A salesperson was talking to somebody about buying an aftermarket protection plan for their product. And this was an older couple. And the reason I say older couple is because they were at an age where they didn't have a lot of family members in their home. So this person was trying to sell a protection plan. And they were like, oh, it covers everything. And just being very vague and quick at the counter there. They didn't spend any time trying to build value or trying to ask the consumer what was important to them and maybe highlight how this could have helped them with their purchase. And so at the counter there, I happen to be up there with the owner of the business. She says to them, would you like to buy this protection plan? It covers everything, blah, 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 which was a lie because it doesn't cover everything. And she had put in no work to build the value of the product. So the consumer said, no, it's just me and my husband. We don't really have a lot of people over and we don't really need it. And she goes, oh, well, it does cover stains and stuff. She goes, yeah, we don't really eat on our furniture. We'll be fine, right? Great. So I'm standing there listening and I'm like, wow, that was a real lazy effort at trying to earn this person's business. And the reality is that I believe that protection plans help people if they use them. If they don't use them and they forget they bought them, well, then of course there's no value. So I said, would you mind if I ask a few questions? And the lady that was standing there said, no, absolutely. I said, why are you buying furniture today? And she said, well, we bought a piece of reclining furniture and it had broke on us. And I said, oh, that's great. Well, how long did you have it? She said, oh, we had it about 7 years. I said, when did it break? She said it broke in about year 3 and we just stopped using that side as a recliner, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, great. I said, wonderful. Well, did you know that this protection plan happens to cover much more than just stains? And a service tech coming out to your home can cost like $150, blah, blah, blah. No, I didn't know that. I said, yeah, you could have had a service tech maybe come out as long as there were parts available. But this particular plan will cover all of that stuff. And this plan, let's say for argument's sake, was $130 at retail. And you could use it over and over and over again through the life of your sofa up to 5 years, which means they could have had stains taken out of their product. They could have had their recliners fixed. They could have done all these things covered under that same policy and would have more than paid for itself 2 or 3 times potentially. They were either not educated on the value of a protection plan before when they bought the product or bought one and didn't even know they had it. Needless to say, by the time we were done, it was a 5-minute conversation. They threw it in. They said, yeah, absolutely. That sounds like it makes a lot of sense. We'd love to buy this. Okay. The key is make sure you pin this up somewhere where you're not going to forget you have it. First time you have a stain or you have an issue with your mechanism outside of the manufacturer's warranty, make sure that you call this 1-800 number and report it immediately. And they'll send a technician out, take care of it. Oh, that's great. I said, remember, you've got to use it to make it worth it. Oh, that's great. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And they bought it. It was like $139. And the salesperson made their commission. The customer was happy. So instead of lying or just passively trying to throw something out there at a consumer because you're told by your boss to do it, put the time and energy in it as a salesperson and build the value to earn someone's business, right? Now, as a salesperson, let's talk a little bit about how customers lie. Customers lie all the time. Many customers want the best deal they can possibly get. And oftentimes they don't really know what kind of value is important to them. They just know that price is important and they want to save the most money possible. There are some stores recently I was traveling at that have low price policies where they say flat out, we do not negotiate. We have the lowest prices and we are confident in our service, et cetera, et cetera. I love that because that says a lot about the way they're pricing their product, the way they educate their salespeople, and how confident they are in their ability to deliver to consumers. And so it saves a lot of heartache, right? There are some stores that are in the middle and negotiate a little bit. And there are other stores that price things really, really high. No matter who the store is, it could be furniture, electronics, TVs, cars, whatever. And then have really big sales during promotions and drop the price dramatically. And that's fine. It's all relative, right? There's lots of ways to promote and to buy. But what I found was interesting is these guys have low price and they're like, we're confident in that. And they do a lot of business, and it's probably a pretty stress-free business because there's not a whole lot of negotiating, right? I love that. They're confident in that. But you'll get customers that walk in the door saying, oh, I saw that somewhere for $200 less, or I saw it online for this or that or whatever. And what I would ask customers when I was in retail was, well, can you get me a quote on paper so that I can see that? Because I want to see, does that include delivery? What is the return policy like? Are there any catch points in that offering in the small print that maybe they're not paying attention to? And oftentimes in another store or online, somebody might say something, but when the rubber meets the road and you get your contract, it's a whole different animal. So it's really important as a salesperson, if someone's telling you that they have something or they have found something for less or a better deal or this, that you actually get it in writing and you say, make me your last stop. I want to earn your business, but I have to have something tangible if I'm going to work with you here and try to meet or beat this whatever offer that you say you've been receiving, right? And I'd say 8 times out of 10, that consumer's not going to provide that because they're just trying to bluff you. And if they do, then you have done a good job building enough value in who you are and educating them that you may actually earn their business. So really, really important, something to consider. Everybody lies, so this is not that big a deal. But the key is, whether you're a salesperson or a consumer going into a store, are you educating yourself? Are you knowledgeable enough to call out the lie, if there is a lie with that particular engagement, or educated enough to know where your value proposition is, where you stand? I want to pay this for this product. I want this type of warranty. I want this type of service, and I will not stand for less. Just like that retailer that said, we don't negotiate price. We are confident. That tells me that they probably have product in stock. They probably do have pretty darn good pricing. They probably have well-trained professional staff. They probably have a hell of a following, a huge customer base, maybe generational, and they're confident in that, right? And at the end of the day, stores have to keep their lights on, so you can't just negotiate down to the bottom because, how are these guys going to stay in business? They got a lot of overhead and such. So some things to consider. So I hope this was helpful for you. How to spot a lying salesperson. There are obviously lots of keys. Overconfident, saying things for certain, like we are the best. That's the number one thing. This is the way it is. Not able to answer the questions that you ask off the cuff. Again, kind of surprising them with particular questions, especially open-ended questions, yes or no type of questions. And then how that conversation moves along. Are they stumbling, fumbling? Are they repetitive on things? Or are they very well articulated and educating you in a way that makes you feel confident? These things are important. And with consumers, if you want to call out a bluff on a consumer, just ask them to get it in writing so that you can take it to management and see if you can earn their business. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the live feed. We're going to do a bunch more of these. Please put your comments in or your chats, send them to me so I can do future videos and answer all the questions you guys might have on these products that we buy and sell and train on. Thanks.